Hello, I am a woman who just turned 60. It is said that in life you never know what could happen, but among them you never know what could happen to your children. Some may be considered geniuses as children, but may not amount to anything special as they grow older. On the other hand, some who were labeled as not so intelligent may go on to earn doctoral degrees and become professors. My son also struggled in his studies and was even called stupid when he was young. But now he has become a capable and successful person, no matter where he goes. However, when I think about the hardships he faced as his mother, I feel guilty. Before that, I need to talk about my husband. He was raised by a single mother and had to take on the role of the head of the household at a young age, which prevented him from finishing his high school education. He had to take care of his mother and his younger brother, who was 4 years younger than him. His education was limited and he had no one to help him, so he started working at a car repair center. He was a kind and cheerful person on the outside, but inside, he was burnt out. At first, I didn't like him and didn't even want to see his face. But after living with him for over 40 years and sharing the same bed, I now feel sorry for him. Despite being the oldest in the family, he was treated like a servant because his younger brother excelled in his studies. His brother, who did well in school, never showed any respect towards him throughout his life. Whenever my husband tried to discipline his disrespectful brother, his mother would rush to protect him and scold my husband. She would say, "How dare you, being so stupid and ignorant, try to hit your brother? If you acted properly as an older brother, would your brother look down on you? Why don't you think about what you did wrong? Yet, you are just trying to wield your power because you're older, aren't you? If you scold your brother once more, you'll be beaten until the stick breaks." When she acted like that, his younger brother would disrespect him even more, and my husband had to suppress his frustration because he didn't want to create another commotion with his mother. His younger brother didn't change at all even when he got older and got married because his mother always sided with him. What was ironic was that he married a girl who was exactly like him. Like him, both of them would act very rudely towards my husband and me, even though I was the older sister-in-law. They have never said hello to us before. Those two behave exactly the same way. If I were to talk about all the atrocities she has done to me, it would take more than a few days. Since her husband acted insolently towards his older brother, she also acted that way towards me. In their eyes, my husband was nothing to them because he had limited education and worked as a mechanic all his life with oily hands. And I had no family, as if I were an orphan. I could give in and say that we could understand why they looked down on us and let it pass at that. However, they would often say nasty things to our son. "Hey you, why of all people do you take after your dad? You're in middle school. But why is it that you can't even read a simple Spanish sentence? But then, why should you be blamed when your father is that way? If you fail to be admitted to a university, it would be your father's fault. Your dad couldn't study at all when he was young." Then his wife said, "Honey, how could that be blamed only on your older brother? Originally, intelligence is inherited from the mother's side." She would say that without any shame. Then my mother-in-law would add, "Your wife is right. Susan's family is like that, so that's why Danny's brain is like that. But look at your husband. He takes after me, and that's why he's so intelligent." I couldn't believe it. According to their logic, then, isn't my husband like that because he takes after his mother? She didn't even know that she was putting herself down and siding with her younger son and his wife to disrespect my family. I became so upset that I felt like taking a bucket full of toilet water and splashing it on their faces. Even when the situation was like this, my husband was just smiling and ignoring the situation. At that time, more than my mother-in-law, I hated my husband. When we got home, I blew up at my husband. "Why were you smiling after hearing all that? Are you still my husband to behave that way? Why are you like that? It's not anyone else but your own wife who was being ridiculed in front of your younger brother and his wife. But don't you even get angry about it? Aren't you even ashamed in front of our son Danny? Whenever you act like that, I feel like my whole body is burning with anger and frustration. I don't even want to see your face, so make your own dinner." Come on, of course I do get angry. Why wouldn't I get angry when they are attacking my only wife? But if I act serious in that situation, not only my mom but my sister-in-law will feel uncomfortable. We got together for a long time as a family, so there's no reason to get all red in the face and cause trouble. Since you have a bigger heart, please try to understand. In this world, you are the only person who understands me. I will massage your shoulders, so please don't be angry, my beloved Susan Smith. He would turn on his charms to allay my anger. Then my son would mimic my husband, my beloved Susan Smith. And they would together try to make me feel better. So how could I express any anger in front of those two? However, honey, as your brother said, should we send Danny to a private Spanish academy? His grades keep falling. What if he can't even earn a living later? What are you talking about? Everyone has their own path in life. Just because he can't memorize a few Spanish words, that has no influence on living. Because our Danny has a different talent. Don't you remember? When Danny was 5 years old, he went to a supermarket to buy and pay for merchandise, doing the math even. No matter what, he is the type to earn a lot of money. You wait and see. Whenever the subject of our son's studying came up, my husband avoided any discussions entirely. Whenever he was like that, I always ended up in frustration and helplessness. Unlike my son, who received the lowest scores in school, my niece, who was 1 year younger than my son, never missed having the highest scores in the whole school. Then that little brat also looked down on my son like her parents. My sister-in-law was obsessed with providing the best education for her daughter and would stop at nothing to hire the best tutors around. My brother-in-law earned a good salary, but his mother-in-law was very wealthy, so they provided anything that money could buy for their daughter. These days, talent does not make one rich, but money makes one become rich. When I looked at my brother-in-law's family, I felt as if that saying was right. Because the parents who invested money into their children could not be compared to the children who were raised by parents who could only afford to feed them to grow up healthy. As expected, my son did not get admitted to the university to which he applied. Then my mother-in-law said I knew that would happen. It would be strange if he got in on his first try. His maternal side is like that, so how could he go to college? That's good that he didn't get in. It happened for the best. Mother, how could you say that it is good that he didn't get into college? How terrible must Danny feel now? You shouldn't say that, even if you couldn't give him your consolation. My goodness, everyone expected that Danny would fail to get into college. So, why are you taking it out on your mother-in-law? Why didn't you pay more attention to him earlier? You didn't do anything, and now you're saying you're feeling bad. What idiosyncrasy is that? Honestly, aren't you just glad that he even graduated from high school? It's obvious that he would be lagging behind any competition. So, you shouldn't worry about Danny's college education, but worry about what he is going to do to make a living for himself. If Danny were my son, I wouldn't be able to sleep from worrying so much. Hey, do you think you know it all? How can a person who's supposed to be Danny's aunt say such things? What's so bad about Danny for you to say that? I think he's 100 times, no, 1,000 times better than your conceited daughter, who never says hello to her elders just because she gets high grades. You wait and see. It's not over until it's over. Do you have to wait to see it? Don't be stubborn and just give up when it's hopeless. If you keep being like that, it just appears that you have an inferiority complex. I can never forget that. Until the day I die, how she says such mean things about someone else's child, just because her daughter gets high grades in school. What was so funny was that when I was being beaten by my sister-in-law left and right with her rude words, my dad, husband and son just continued eating without any changes in their expressions. They were my husband and my son, but that day, I really felt like beating them up. As soon as we returned home, I went straight to bed, fuming. It seemed that they caught on, and both followed in after me, and they sat right next to each other and began massaging my shoulders and legs. At any other time I would just let it go, but that day I didn't feel like it, so I kicked my husband's back with my foot. Then I slammed my son's back in succession. Don't touch me! You two fools! How could you swallow any food there? How could you hear those things and eat? Are you obsessed with eating food? From now on, I won't cook any food for you. So whether you get the food delivered or make it on your own, do whatever you want. I don't even want to see your faces, so get out of my sight." Then my son pleaded for my forgiveness. "Mom, even though I didn't do well in school, I'm confident I can make a lot of money and have you live in luxury. I'm very sorry that I failed to get into college, but in life some people need to go to college and some don't. I am that person who doesn't need to go to college. Even if I don't go to college, there's no problem making a living. You wait and see. So don't feel bad, and please give me a chance. If you don't want to cook, I will cook. If you want me to, I could do it for 10 years, 100 years, or for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, if you would like, I will even put it in writing." Actually, he would be the one to feel the worst, but when he was trying to comfort me, I didn't feel comfortable. So I reluctantly dropped the matter. "Okay, but you must keep your promise that you will have me live in luxury. Buy me a house and a great car too. Then I will forgive you. Of course, I won't just buy you a house and a car. I will send you abroad on a luxury tour." But his promise wasn't kept that easily. He tried to do his best by working at various jobs at construction sites as a day laborer, as well as doing deliveries to save money to start a business. But his business failed every time. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law's daughter was admitted to a prestigious university in New York, and her family's insolent behavior towards us worsened. However, my sister-in-law, who was boasting about her daughter, suddenly lost a lot of weight over just a few months. She, who was living a high life without any worries in the world, strangely changed overnight. So I was worried that she might have a terminal illness. So when I asked her if she was sick, she just replied that she didn't have any appetite and told me not to worry. Thus, I didn't think anything further about it. Then my mother-in-law asked my sister-in-law how her daughter was doing. However, suddenly my sister-in-law frowned and started to scream at her as if she had lost her mind. "Then is there any reason that she wouldn't be doing well? Mother, you have never even given your granddaughter any spending money. Yet why are you asking each time how she's doing? Why are you so curious about her? My goodness, Kate, what did I say to make you so angry? Since Annie is in a strange city by herself, I was worried about her. Was I wrong to do that when she is also my granddaughter? Even though Kate was her favorite daughter-in-law, when she was upset with her for no reason, my mother-in-law didn't look very pleased. Right then, my brother-in-law had an angry expression on his face and pulled my sister-in-law's arms and dragged her out with him. It seemed that something must have happened. After that, my sister-in-law would make one excuse after another and never came to the family events for the holidays. My brother-in-law would just come by himself briefly and then leave. When then my mother-in-law's favorite daughter-in-law stopped coming over to her house, she no longer acted rudely towards me as before, even though she still wasn't very friendly with me. After a few years of hardship, my son's new menu became a big hit, and he began making a lot of money. Other people would open up another branch if their restaurant did well, but my son concentrated on expanding more deliveries. I scoffed at his strategy because I didn't think it would make that much difference in revenue. But he said that his gross sales from the deliveries were 3 times more than the in-house sales. He didn't stop there. He developed several meal kits to be delivered via courier nationally. And from then on, he was just sitting on top of piles of money, rolling in constantly. I even wondered if he was my son, who used to hear that he was the dumbest kid in the whole school. After several failures, my son had a taste of despair, and thanks to that, it helped him to become stronger. He was able to handle any emergencies very calmly and swiftly. He was operating his business with great acumen. To get to that point, I wondered how much he must have fallen and been hurt. It gave me a heartache to know that as parents, we did not give him proper support to help him. Yet, he worked so hard to do it all on his own, so we were very proud of him. During the holidays, we went over to my mother-in-law's house, and I bragged about our son. But she just snickered and said, "How much is he earning that he doesn't even come over to the memorial service for his deceased grandpa?" I could understand if it's Annie who's busy studying at that prestigious university, so she can't come. But if he can't even study, then he should at least do his duty. I don't know who he takes after for being like that. Why are you making such a big deal out of nothing? Why don't you take some food to your sister-in-law's house? Something must be up with them, since I haven't heard from them for a while, not even a phone call. I felt like saying no to her request because I resented her. I had slaved away in the kitchen to make all of the food for the holidays and family events ever since I got married, but all she cared about was her younger son's family. But then I also began to worry whether something happened to them. So I went to their house with food. However, what? No one by that name lives here. It can't be. My sister-in-law, who stopped coming to my mother-in-law's house, had actually moved away somewhere. I called her, but she acted as if she was still living in the house. Kate, I've just come from your house. Where did you move to? Why did you move without telling anyone? Our mother-in-law told me to take some food for you, so send me your new address via text. Never mind, you go ahead and eat them. Even if you bring that food, no one in our house will eat them. Tell Mother that I will come by soon. My sister-in-law just said what she wanted to say and hung up. I thought I got worried over nothing for someone so rude like her. After that, I stopped worrying about them. A few years later, my son invited my husband and me to go somewhere. We went out to meet our son and he suddenly said, "Mom, isn't this building so nice? On the first floor, I will have my restaurant, and from the second floor, I will rent out the apartments. And the 14th floor will be for you and Dad. And the 15th floor will be for my wife and me. In summer, we can use the rooftop to have barbecue parties and plant some flowers that you like so much. How about that? What are you saying? This building would be so expensive. To buy something like this building, it would take at least 10 years. No, it might not be even possible to earn for 30 years. But I don't even mind a tiny little house, but just be able to buy my own house so that I don't have to rent anymore. Anyhow, you asked us to meet you here, just so you can say that. Mom, would you be satisfied with just a tiny little house? It should at least be the size of this building to be satisfied, won't you, our beloved Susan Smith? We can get rid of your sadness about renting once and for all, won't we? This building is now ours. Your son has worked by breaking his back for over 5 years to buy this building. I told you, I can't study, but I have the talent in making money. Mom, you don't need to go to work at someone else's restaurant anymore. I'm going to make money for you until you die. So all you need to do is go traveling with your friends and eat at top restaurants and enjoy your life. I will buy you a brand new car, and you can make our dad your chauffeur. Wow, our beloved Susan Smith will live in luxury because of her son, won't you? When my son said that, tears welled up in my eyes. It wasn't just a tiny little house, but a huge new 15-story building with a fantastic view. I thought I was dreaming. It was the same for my husband. Kept swallowing and exclaiming, "Wow." Thanks to our son, we were able to stop renting when we couldn't do it on our own, even if we worked hard throughout all our lives. A few days later, when my mother-in-law heard the news, she said she couldn't believe it and had to see it with her own eyes. She came over with her younger son and his wife. When my mother-in-law confirmed it with her own eyes, she pushed away the hands that were supporting her by my sister-in-law and grabbed my husband's hand with a warm smile and said, "Honey, you have worked so hard. You don't know for how long I have been waiting for this moment. As a mother, you don't know how hard it is when you are looked down upon by your own younger brother, even though you are the oldest son in the family." Anyhow, where is my room? When she said that, I couldn't even breathe. She had been so mean to us because we had no money. But when we told her that we bought a building, she was asking us to take her and care for her. I thought she had no conscience. My husband couldn't answer and hesitated. Then she said, "Never mind, I will go up and choose one later. You have so many apartments in this building. In this building, couldn't you have your brother move in too?" Then I wondered what she was saying. They had nothing but money, so why would they come into our place to live? Then as soon as my mother-in-law finished her sentence, my brother-in-law smiled and sneakily said, "That's right, brother. You're the oldest, so couldn't you do that for your younger brother? All this time, on your behalf, I've spent a lot of money for the family. So, why don't you now take the responsibility and show it?" Mom wants it so much. Just because we have money? Do you remember that we were the only ones to pay for any family events or do any house repairs for your mom's house? If we have done that much, you could let us have one whole floor. Kate, what are you talking about? What have you done for our mother-in-law? Even if we were struggling financially, we always did our duty as the eldest in the family. On any holidays or family events, money came out of my pocket, and I never spent any money from you. If you gave any money, it must have gone into our mother-in-law's pocket, not ours. So, if you're asking us to compensate, you've got the wrong person. And about the repairs in our mother-in-law's house, my husband hired a guy and went there himself to change the boiler and pipes. So, I don't know why you're saying you spent any money on those repairs, and everyone seems to be mistaken. This building was not bought with my husband's money. Danny bought this building by working hard, sweating in the hot summers, and burning his hands in the hot oil. All of you gave him all kinds of mean ridicule, saying that he was stupid and ignorant. How dare you even think of coming to live in this building? I won't have it. Whenever I think about the shame he had to endure because of all of you, I can't even sleep. So, would I be crazy to see you take advantage of him? Wake up, and just go live the way you always have. If you bring that up one more time, we will cut off our ties with you forever. Then my mother-in-law rolled up her sleeves and came toward me. Now that your mouth is open, you sure are blabbering all over, aren't you? You've even been abandoned by your own parents. So I took you in as my daughter-in-law, but now you're using your own son to become somebody. If Danny is your son, did you make him by yourself? Don't you know that your son inherited good genes from my son to grow up to be successful? If you took after your parents, who were nothing but ignorant farmers, no such son could have come out of you. Because of the good genes from our family, if you will live comfortably in your old age, you should just be grateful. But how dare you act insolently in front of me? Because you act that way, I couldn't help but treat you like that. You're nothing but a beggar. Yet, how dare you try to act as a landlady to me? If you don't want to be forced into a divorce and be kicked out of our household, shut up and don't even open your foul mouth. Do you understand? How dare you butt into our family affairs? Right then, my husband, who had been silent all this time, suddenly yelled, "Who's a beggar? Why would my wife be forced into a divorce and be kicked out? The person who needs to shut up is not my wife, but you, Mom. What about the inherited genes? What about our family's genes? You're selfish like Stephen and blaming others. Are those the genes you're talking about? Or is it my genes because I'm such a fool who gets treated as a fool by his mother and younger brother for the rest of his life? What genes are so great that you're acting so absurdly like that? Don't be mistaken. It takes someone like Susan to come into a stupid family like ours and sacrifice for us. And the reason Danny became so successful is all owed to her. He inherited the genes to cook well from his mother, and he takes after Susan, who always worked so diligently that he became this successful. So, don't try to put your 2 cents in and just go back to your house. Just as you've been doing all this time, embrace your favorite son, Stephen, and live forever with him. I don't want to be a son to someone like you who's so mean. And Stephen, listen carefully. I have been putting up with your insolence toward me all this time, not because you're that great, but because of our father's last dying words. He asked me to feel sympathy for you, who would grow up without a father and act on his behalf. If it weren't for our dad's request, you would have been killed by me a long time ago. You just trusted that smart head of yours, but you weren't afraid of anything in this world, as if you were the smartest stupid fool. When you have declared bankruptcy, no one will lend you even a penny, will they? You have no one to blame, but it is all your fault for living your life that way. And Kate, you shouldn't live a life like that either. After you stabbed someone else's son's heart, were you satisfied to live like that? If your child is precious, other people's children would be precious too. For how long have you been drilling nails into my wife's and my son's heart? The reason your daughter turned out that way is because all of you have lived a life with mean intent. So from now on, try to live by being kind. I'm done with my words, so don't interfere in our lives, and I will sever our ties once and for all. My husband took my hand and took me home. After that day, we stopped going to his mother's house. We lived like that for about 2 years. We heard that his younger brother and wife, together with their daughter, have moved into my mother-in-law's house and are living there together. I learned that their daughter had been addicted to online gambling since she was in high school. She was in high school and caused a lot of problems. She was young, yet I don't know where she learned it. But secretly she got a big loan and used her mom's phone to take out money to waste on gambling. Sending her to a prestigious university in New York was a lie. And she got money from her parents to pay off the gambling debts, keeping it a secret from her husband. But when she could no longer handle it on her own, she confessed it to her husband. That must have been when she lost a lot of weight. Their daughter had used her father's social security number to gamble on an illegal gambling site. Her father got fired from his job and had to take a loan against his pension to pay off the debt. The amount was so huge that they even had to sell their house to finally pay it all off. Right now their daughter is under psychological treatment. Even when her father passed away, my sister-in-law wouldn't let her daughter come to the funeral, saying that it would interfere with her studies. Only now she regrets saying that she had ruined her own daughter and sobs, but it's over spilled milk. She should just embrace her daughter and watch her, praying that she will come around. It's easy to have a child, but raising them into a good human being is the most difficult thing to do. Even though it is hard to be a parent or a child, I hope to live in a good way so that we can finish our lives with good hearts and good minds. Thank you for listening to my story. Please cheer for me and write your words of wisdom in the comments section. Pressing like and subscribing is a big help to me. Take care.